And welcome. We are live here on Talkback Live Network. I am your host, Joshua Midgett, here on Talkback Live Network on a Monday evening. Glad to be with y'all once again on today here on Talk Sports Live. First time I've been back on in a minute, man. Shout out to everybody continuing to come on through. Seeing the comments start to come in. So good evening, everybody. Coming off a Grizzlies game that just ended a little while ago. And decided to jump on, man, and get the new year started on a good note, man. Give my thoughts on some things going on in the sports world. Once again, my name is Joshua Midgett, co-founder of Talkback Live Network, co-host of Talkback Live with Bob and Josh, and host of Talk Sports Live. And here I am, here today. Got several things I want to talk about, and definitely welcoming y'all to join me as well, so we can all talk about these things, man, because it's definitely some things that have been going on in the sports world. Looking forward to talking about that with you. What's up, Leon? I did see it, man. I appreciate it. What's up, GKP? See you in the building as well. Some more people continuing to come in. Everybody that is on right now, and as you still come in, numbers still jumping up there. As you come in, go ahead and hit that like button like several of y'all have already done. Go ahead and hit that. First thing you do, hit the like button, and it is greatly appreciated, as well as sharing the video as well. Not just the like button, but also hit that share button. And so all your friends could join in on these great conversations we have here on Talkback Live Network. So, glad to be back with y'all again today, man. So much stuff's going on. We'll try to get to some of it, as you can see, kind of with the picture collage I got going there, talking just some of the things, some of the topics that have been discussed as of late. You know, when you talk about John, when you talk about Penny Hardaway, and when you talk about disgusted Cowboys fans after yesterday's game. Which the whole country basically was watching. 49ers Cowboys, a rivalry that goes all the way back to 72, to say the least, if not further than that. But again, it was another classic in the playoffs for the 49ers and the Cowboys. People talked about it all day, so I'm not going to belabor some points and even some stuff that we talked about last night on Talkback Live with Bob and Josh. Because I want to get to some of these other things when it comes to the Tigers, Grizzlies, and then whatever you guys want to talk about as well when it comes to the sports world and stuff like that. But my thing is, I'm just throw this out there real quick, because there were other playoff games. You had the Tampa Bay destruction of the Philadelphia Eagles Sunday afternoon, if you want to call it a game. Even Troy Aikman was talking about, he was a color commentator in that game. He didn't want to, you can tell he didn't want to be there. Him and Joe Buck, they wanted to do the 49ers Cowboys game. So, that was just one of those things. So that was not very entertaining. And to be honest, a lot of the playoff games in the wild card weekend weren't that great. They really weren't. You had the Bengals and the Oakland Raiders. Hey, it's just one of those things. That was a little bit more entertaining, but the Bengals winning their first playoff game, and I believe it was 31 years since 1991. So that is striking. And as a Titans fan, as many of y'all know, I'm a Titans fan. I am very much looking forward to the Titans-Bengals matchup this weekend. So we're going to talk about that as time goes on as well, because I do not think it's going to be an easy game for us being my Titans this weekend in Nashville. But nonetheless, we'll talk about that a little bit later in the week as well. But I think this is going to be a great, great game. Also went on this weekend, the Tigers took on East Carolina, meaning the Tigers men's basketball team, because there's a lot of things going on in Tiger Nation, but specifically Penny Hardaway and the men's basketball team went to East Carolina. And East Carolina is one of those teams where historically, I even saw me and Bob watching the game. The Tigers were 23-4, I believe, heading into the game on Saturday. And East Carolina is a team that no matter what iteration of the Tigers you talk about, Kyler Perry, Josh Pastner, Tubby Smith, Penny Hardaway, one thing that they all have had in common for the most part is that they seem to be able to handle the East Carolina Pirates. Except a couple of years ago, they beat us in overtime in the game, I remember. But that was one of only 4 losses that they've ever had against East Carolina. And that's a team that when you look at what the Tigers currently have on the basketball team, you shouldn't be losing to. So with all that being said, they did. And we'll delve into that also. But if any of y'all have any thoughts on any of those things, the Grizzlies also just ended a great display as well, winning their game 119-106 at FedEx Forum on Martin Luther King Day, which is today as well. So happy MLK Day. Everybody out there celebrating how you choose to on today, but it's just being off from work and relaxing with the family or choosing to do other things. It's up to you, man. But the Grizz chose to celebrate by beating Chicago, and that was another good win for the Grizz, despite Chicago being without 3, at least, of their core players, on this team. So that's one of those things that you can't help, but the Grizz went and took care of business nonetheless. So anyway, y'all let me know what you think about these different things. Let me start off with one thing real quick, because there's a lot of kind of want to introduce several of the things I want to talk about before I dive into one thing in particular. But real quick on the Cowboys game, it was the most entertaining game of Wild Card Weekend, without a doubt. The most interest because of everything that's going on with these two franchises and their huge, followings, things of that nature. So regardless, the only thing I really have to say about that game is that I believe that the Cowboys have the better personnel. And y'all know I'm by no means a Cowboys fan, but it's just being real and honest. I really do think they have a better roster, talent-wise. But for whatever reason, between the ears, it just doesn't seem to connect with these guys. A lot of stupid stuff going on when you watch that game. A lot of stuff, a lot of lack of discipline. And I put this out on Facebook yesterday, right after the game, because and I went and, today you want to see all the reactions. You got Stephen A's and Skip Bayless, Shannon Sharps, and all the other sports personalities on national media. And they said a lot of the things that I was discussing and reacting to as the game was happening, and that they clearly looked ill-prepared, and that they clearly looked like a team that had coaching problems. Whatever Mike McCarthy is doing or not doing is not connecting whatsoever. They look pathetic, man. And nothing is more aggravating than watching the team on the floor or on the field that you can tell they just don't have it together. And there are several key signs you notice when a team doesn't have it together on any level. It can be conditioning is a major factor. Some can say even injuries to a certain degree, but some of the main things is a lack of discipline and penalties when it comes to the NFL or football in particular. And they led the league in penalties all year. It's GKP, I know you know. I see you in the building, man. And they continued to do so last night against the 49ers. You see talent all over that field with Dallas, but they do dumb things in dumb situations at the worst time. There were 8 penalties that either cost them getting off the field on defense and getting the ball back and leading to a first down for the 49ers, or there were penalties on the Cowboys that kept them from getting first downs or even scoring the football. So there were so many things that contributed to why they lost, and a lot of it was self-inflicted. Now, I'm hearing a lot of talk about, credit for the 49ers, and they do deserve credit because they won the game. And they did have a good game plan. They were smarter in the way they did things. Kyle Shanahan and his offensive play calling, which has always been praised. And deservedly so, because I think he did a pretty good job, especially having to work around Jimmy Garoppolo, the starting quarterback for the 49ers, who was actively trying to win the game for the Cowboys when it got to the second half, because I don't know what he was doing, especially that late interception he threw to Brown late. So many terrible decisions, missing wide open receivers in situations that could have closed out that game. He handed it to Dak Prescott on a silver platter, but Dak dropped the silver platter and broke it over the head of the umpire, aka the referee, in the game. So, nonetheless, the Cowboys slipped and fell on the banana peel, and they don't have anybody to blame but themselves, man. Now, the 49ers, again, not taking credit away from them, but I'm not going to go all out of my way and say they're a contender, because I don't think so, especially with the Nick Bosa injury, who's a monster on the defensive line. No, I don't think so at all. I could be proven wrong, but I don't think I will be. And whoever the 49ers play next, they're going to lose. So that's just my quick thoughts on that. I didn't want to go too long with that because I know there's been a lot of conversation about that. But if y'all have any thoughts on it, feel free to join the conversation, 901-213-6020. If you want to call in, we do have phone lines available if you want to join the conversation. Once again, 901-213-6020, the number scrolling at the bottom of the screen if you're able to see that. So once again, it is much appreciated. So as I move on, this is something I really wanted to talk about ever since the game ended. I almost wanted to jump live after I saw it. And it was the Tigers and East Carolina game this weekend. So, Penny Hardaway, another disappointing loss on his record to a team they shouldn't lose to. It was the East Carolina team that was 10-4 heading into the game on Saturday. So they were not terrible, but from what I remember seeing from East Carolina's schedule, they didn't play, they weren't necessarily playing Duke and Kentucky on their schedule just to keep it on the mellow side. Their schedule was rather soft. So they were getting a lot of wins against teams that weren't that good. So in other words, the Tigers should have won the game. Now, I know some may say, and I've seen this conversation already, well, Josh, you got to realize the Tigers were without so many guys. They only had 6 or 7 available players, whatever you want to say, which is all true. Several guys were out, including Landers Nolly, who's one of the main guards on the team. But I saw the whole game, and I don't care what you want to say. The talent discrepancy was massive. The talent gap, if you're really looking at what I was looking at on that floor, the gap of talent from one team to the next, in my humble opinion, was very telling. East Carolina should not have been able to even be on the floor with that Tigers team. And guess what? In the beginning of the game, they weren't able to compete. The Tigers were doing what they were supposed to do, and that's handle business. They were putting their foot on their neck early and doing what they need to do. And even one of the most encouraging things was Imani Bates, number 1 recruit in the country that committed to the Tigers, out there 17 years old, a guy that was expected to come in and be, some people saying, Kevin Durant or whatever, which I think is way too much to put on a young guy. But nonetheless, Jalen Duren has not really disappointed. He was the number 2 ranked player in that draft. in that recruiting class, that is. And he has been amazing. He had another great game against East Carolina. But Imani Bates came out there looking like the guy that we thought he was going to be. Slowly, it seems like he's been starting to come on for the Tigers. And, you know, it seems as though, at least in that first half, he was starting to get it together. He had 3 threes in a row, back to back to back. And I'm like, man, it looks like, you know, it looks like we're finally getting what we want to see when it comes to Tigers basketball and Penny Hardaway squad. But then they just couldn't quite pull away. It was starting to make me nervous a little bit. Even going into halftime, had a double-digit lead. I'm like, oh, okay, they could have finished a little better. It wasn't bad. Tyler Harris was doing his thing. Even going into the second half, the lead stayed around 12 to 13. You know, in the first half, it got up to 19. And to me, when it got to 19, that was the point where the Tigers had the chance to crush their spirits and to completely discourage them from thinking they could mount a comeback. But they failed to do so, gave them hope consistently throughout the game, making poor decisions, hanging around, playing with their food, as some would say. And East Carolina bit them in the tail at the end. And it really came down to the end, because all the way up to the last 3 minutes, the Tigers looked like they were in pretty good position. They kept the double-digit lead. They were making some shots to extend the lead at certain points, even though they just didn't push it enough. But the last 3 minutes were a complete and utter disaster of a magnitude I don't know I've seen. You know, I'm sure, look, there's been plenty of collapses in Tigers history. Don't get me wrong. But that was among the worst, in my opinion. Now, if y'all disagree, feel free to let me know. Phone lines down there, 901-213-6020, as Bishop Bob Midgett puts down in the comments. I appreciate that. It's also on the screen here as well. And also, you can leave a comment as well, just in the comments also. But the way that they collapsed, it kind of is, it's funny how sometimes these discussions I have almost have a theme. Coaching. Now, I know it's always this talk with Penny, and Penny's been getting a lot of heat. One sign of a poorly coached team or a poorly disciplined team is something like this. They have the talent, they have the ability, they have the physical and athletic acumen, so to speak, to crush East Carolina, as was showed for the majority of that game. But the ability to close, to stay disciplined, to finish the job was telling that they were not able to do so. Now, I'm not entirely blaming Penny for this, but he does deserve some blame here for not having these guys ready to close. Now, I did hear Penny talk after the game, and one of the key things was closing out on three-point shooters. And Penny talked about, well, we looked at film. That was one of the things we emphasized during the week. And we studied it. The players seemed like they got it. And when they went out on the floor, they didn't execute. So again, this is Penny saying we coached them up. Penny Hardaway is saying, again, this is like he said this in the past. He said this in past years. He said it in the beginning of this year when they were at their worst. Penny says, I'm doing my job. Me and my coaching staff, Larry Brown, Rasheed Wallace, who I don't know, is Rasheed Wallace still there? Where is Rasheed Wallace? He hasn't even been on the bench in a while. I think does he have COVID? I don't know. It's a little weird. But nonetheless, whoever's there on the coaching staff, Cody Toppert, Larry Brown, Penny Hardaway, he says, our staff is doing the job. These guys are not executing what we are teaching them. So again, the problem arises once again, and you have to ask the question, where is the disconnect? What's happening? Is Penny saying he has a bunch of dumb athletes that can't understand what they're trying to tell him? Or are they not communicating effectively with the roster? These are interesting questions. I'd like to see what you guys think about it. But again, in my humble opinion, it's not always a good thing when things go bad to always say they ain't doing what we telling them to do. Now, maybe it's true. Maybe it's true. I'm not saying it's not. Maybe it is. That has happened before. There's teams that don't listen to the coaching staff, but then you have to wonder again, why? Why is it so hard for this team to listen supposedly to what the coaches are telling them? Where's the disconnect? So that's always going to be my question when it comes to that, because I will say this. I know people start to panic, and people have been jumped off this Tigers bandwagon for this team this year. I know a lot of diehard fans that are saying, hey, I'm jumping off. They jumped off the roof of the bandwagon and they're walking down the street. Even if they broke their leg, they're like, I'm jumping off. I don't care anymore about this season. And I get it to some degree because everybody's disappointed. You had the expectations of being top 5 team in the country, blowing out everybody in the AAC, mowing through the regular season, almost like the Tigers of old, the John Calipari, Derrick Rose teams, Chris Douglas Roberts, national title dominant type of program. I think that's what a lot of us were expecting. But was it fair to expect that coming into the season? I think it kind of was. I'm not saying you should think that, but at the same time, when you bring in this level of talent compared to the way they finished last season as one of the best teams in the country to end the year, you win the NIT, you go on a massive run, you bring back a lot of those core pieces, and you add to it, those expectations are going to be there. And now it is fair to say they have supremely disappointed in those expectations. But the season is not over. They still went and destroyed a very good Wichita State team. They went and beat a good Cincinnati team. Those were outstanding wins that happened not that long ago. So I'm not going to say everything is lost because they've proven that they can do it. But the problem is, why can't they continue to do it consistently? Is it Penny? Is it the players? Is it the fact that they continue to have problems keeping guys healthy with COVID or whatever the case is? That is the $1 million question. Why can't these Tigers consistently perform at the high level that we know they can? What's good, Kelly? I see Kelly just coming in as well. I just gave out a lot of information there, Kelly. But y'all let me know what you think. What is the problem you see with this Memphis Tigers basketball team? Do you even care at this point? Because like I say, Tiger fans are very passionate, but at the same time, everybody has a breaking point. And it seems as though some people are like, hey, I'm focusing on the Grizzlies from now on. You know what I'm saying? They're saying, hey, I'm not wasting my energy on the Tigers anymore. I'm focusing on the Grizzlies, who are playing at an elite level right now. I'm not going to let the Tigers bring me and my mood down. I don't know if that's fair, but it's a whole lot of that talk that's happening right now. Me personally, I don't think you should have to choose either or when it comes to the two programs. But if one's doing better than the other, one's going to get more attention. And just look at the Grizzlies right now after this win in the Martin Luther King Day game tonight or this afternoon against Chicago. So y'all let me know once again, what do you think about this? I got some more people continuing to come in. Shout out to y'all that are sharing the video as well. Shout out to Dwight Rogers, who just liked the Facebook page. Shout out to you, sir. welcome in. GKP shared the video as well. Shout out to you, man. It's always much appreciated. So those are my thoughts, man. It's going to be interesting to see how this continues to roll with this Tigers basketball team. But one thing about it, as far as me, my expectations aren't that high. They're just not. And I don't think it should be for anybody else either. Unless they prove us wrong at this point, I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, they're going to do this or they're going to do that. They got to show me now. Because at this point, they don't look like they can. But let's see. Kelly says, don't make sense how some of these Jack is wanting Penny fired. Well, look, let me tell you this. I'm glad you brought that up too. I don't think, all right. When it comes to Penny being fired, I think that's a bit ridiculous, to be perfectly honest. As much as he has struggled, as much as he has done some questionable things this year, and I think a lot of the criticism is warranted to a degree, firing him to me is borderline insane right now. Because I saw, and they put the record up going into the game this Saturday, Penny Hardaway is still, his record going into Saturday before the loss was 73-28 as Tigers head coach. That has to account for something. No NCAA tournament yet. We want him to do that. He did coach through the pandemic. He did have a team that we all think would have made the NCAA tournament with Precious Achiuwa and James Wiseman, but then the Wiseman drama happened. Precious turned into a monster. But then the season didn't even have a tournament that year. So you got to take all that into account. There was a season where they didn't even have a tournament, and they stopped it because of COVID. Season was just over. Last year was Penny's chance to make the tournament. They didn't do it. That's not good. That's a notch against him. But they did win the NIT. And they did finish after starting a lot worse, to me, a lot worse than they did this year. Last year was scary bad. Last year was frighteningly terrible, the way they started. But then they finished as one of the best teams in the country. It was something like, 19 out of the last 22? Something crazy. They went on an insane run. Which showed me that Penny does know how to do this. You don't do that by accident. Getting a team that was falling apart to come together and win to that level is unbelievable. I don't care who you are. And to win a tournament, an NIT tournament, I know it's the NIT and, it's one of those things, it's just the NIT, but you're still playing teams that want to win, man. The other teams that didn't make the tournament, they wanted to win that tournament. The Tigers beat them all and won it. So they do deserve credit for that. But heading into this season, they have not really capitalized off that momentum. Where's the drop-off? What happened? That is the key question that I don't know if anybody has the answer to. I know you bring in some new guys. You lost guys like DJ Jeffries and Boogie Ellis, who were key, especially Boogie Ellis last year, but you still kept a lot of guys like DeAndre Williams, like Landers Nolly, like Lester Quinones, Alex Lomax. You bring back Tyler Harris. And let me say this. I was talking to some people when Tyler Harris first got transferred here. A lot of people were wondering, why are you bringing Tyler back? Tyler left. He didn't want to be here. Tyler comes back, and all Tyler Harris did was come back to Memphis when he had a spot at Iowa State. He had a guaranteed scholarship there. He left, came back to his hometown to play for Penny without a scholarship. He was willing to walk on. A guy that in the city of Memphis was called Mr. First 48 because he was so good. He was the number one show in high school basketball in this city. To get a scholarship, I think right now, a lot of places that he wants to go, he comes here and doesn't whine and complain with all these other big-time recruits Penny recruited over him. He worked, and to me now, Tyler Harris might be the best, most consistent, and most important player on this team besides Jalen Duren. So that's been an incredible story, and I think it's credit to Penny for letting him come back, and more credit to Tyler for coming back under those circumstances. So I think that's not to be forgotten in this whole story also. So again, man, we'll see what happens, but one thing about it, the Tigers are never boring. They always have a interesting story to go on under Penny Hardaway. So we'll see what happens. But as far as firing Penny, y'all need to chill with that mess. Is anybody in the media talking about that? I hadn't listened to all the radio shows today. I know most of it's been talking Cowboys probably and other stuff. But I think it's a bit insane to be calling for Penny's job right now. It is. And they're not going to do it because they owe him too much money. They owe him too much money right now. They're still paying Tubby Smith, by the way. Tubby's over at High Point University chilling. They don't care what Tubby does there. They just giving him money and honored that he's there. He's getting a check from them and a check from us. The Tigers don't want to be in that situation again. And I don't blame them. They're not doing bad enough to fire the guy. That would be insane to me. They're still getting ticket sales. People are still coming to the games. They're still making a whole lot of money off of Penny, his name, and the players that he's recruited here. So as far as firing him, I think if anybody wants that to happen, then you're just going to be unhappy, to be perfectly honest. 901-213-6020. Call in if you wish. Or if you're just enjoying the listen, you can do that too. I appreciate those that are hanging in there and watching with me. Also, real quick, you can follow us on multiple platforms. We're live on Facebook. Talkback Live with Bob and Josh on Facebook, where you can check out all our different programming that we do. Also, youtube.com, Talkback Live Network on YouTube. That's Talkback Live Network on YouTube. So, we talked Dallas Cowboys, NFL playoffs. We talked Penny Hardaway and the Memphis Tigers. And again, if you still want to comment on that, welcome to do so. 901-213-6020. But now I want to move on to a little bit more good news to finish my deal here for today. And that's the Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies won today, 119-106 at FedEx Forum, Martin Luther King Day, against the Chicago Bulls. That was a very good win for the Grizz. And again, as I said earlier, the Bulls were without three of their best players. I hate that because I was really looking forward to this matchup. You got the Bulls, who nobody expected to be this good in the Eastern Conference. Nobody. I don't care what you say. I don't care what y'all want to say now. Nobody expected Chicago to be probably the second best team in the East. After they signed DeMar DeRozan, a lot of people felt they overpaid for him. They went and got Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso from the Lakers. Personally, I love the mashup of all those guards they brought together. They go and get Nikola Vucevic, who's one of the most underrated big men in the NBA. Patrick Williams, young player, he's hurt right now. The Bulls, kind of like the Grizzlies in a way, quietly built this team that is really, really good and is beating everybody to an extent. Now, the Brooklyn Nets did blow out the Bulls the other day. Some people wondering, ooh, what does that mean? But nonetheless, these are still two of the best young teams in the NBA coming to the Forum. I hate that they were hurt again because I really think this could have been a classic game on Martin Luther King Day. But nonetheless, the Grizz were clearly the better team today. The score may be a little closer than the game actually was for the most part. Grizz taking care of business. John Morant, another good game, over 20 points. Had the little incident with Bradley for the Bulls. I don't know what was going on there. He just couldn't let go of John. He had his arms around him. John Morant pushed the basketball in his face, and Steven Adams decided to pick him up like a baby. Put his arms around him, picked him up like a baby, and carried him across the court. So that was one of the funniest things I've seen in a while, man. But nonetheless, that was cool. Good win for the Grizz. They continue to go about their winning ways after the 11-game winning streak. They got blown out the other night, in case y'all missed it. I think it was Friday night. Friday night. The Grizz were blown out by the Dallas Mavericks. Can't be mad at that. They had to lose at some point. They were on a stretch of playing 8 games in 12 days at a high level. A lot of emotions, a lot of energy. And even John Morant admitted they were exhausted. So took the weekend off, and they look great here this afternoon. So congrats to the Grizz. Another great game by them. So I am looking forward to what they continue to do this season. So that's going to do it for me, man. Later on this week, I do want to talk about the Titans coming up, taking on the Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC divisional round coming up this week. We got some real games coming up this weekend. We got all the baby playoff games out the way. Now we got the real games coming up with the real teams, the number 1 seeds, 2 seeds, like the Titans, like the Tampa Bays, the Green Bay Packers, teams like that. We got the real folks coming next week, and it's going to be nice to see. I know the Cowboys got us through with entertainment value, but it's almost like Dollar Tree compared to Target. You know what I'm saying? The Titans are Target. The Cowboys are Dollar Tree. You know what I'm saying? You can find some good stuff there, but the real quality is over here. So nonetheless, I can't wait for that coming up this weekend, man. Big game. And as a matter of fact, before I go, I'm going to leave, actually, with this. The Titans put out a hype video for the Bengals matchup, and it did get me hype. I can't even lie to you. So y'all check this out, man, as we go. And I will see y'all when we see you right here on Talkback Live Network. Appreciate y'all for watching. Again, like all our platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Talkback Live with Bob and Josh, YouTube, Talkback Live Network, Twitter, @TalkbackLive. We're live on all those platforms at any time. So just stay tuned and you will see more from us. Without any further ado, I'm out. We'll see you.
This probably is not a popular thought at this point, but I still don't think anybody wants to see the Titans when you get into the postseason.
You know what? I'm not leaving.
Did anybody watch this defense and how they just ruined people up front with that front four?
I'm not leaving.
The adversity that this team has overcome, the fact that they continue to play tough-nosed football, they get after the quarterback, and again in the playoffs, they're going to be a tough team to play.
Hey, Craig, I want to keep going.
I'm not leaving.
City to city, me tripping my gun, tripping the try something. Picture me in the kitchen, yeah, pitching. I need a side, going digital, please. Still hit me up trying to buy something.
This is my home.
See who doesn't hustle ain't entitled to a pack crumb. Be the murder trial to us, that's called triumph. Live it to the limit, I'm just saying, you only die once. Pouring out champagne for all the good that died young. I think this makes 3.
The show goes on.